Don't marry a foreigner if, yeah, it's a lot of if. If you're thinking of marrying a foreigner, which means that you have your own nationality and you will marry another nationality, then it means that that person is a foreigner to your land, or if you are a foreigner to his land. First of all, if you are not an open-minded person, it will be hard for you to marry a foreigner. And why? Because there's a lot of things to consider if you are marrying a person with another nationality. Like, for example, you're an Asian and you are marrying someone from the Western countries, or people here from the Europe, and it's very different, and it's different when it comes to the culture differences. And we will tackle first about the culture differences. The thing I can consider if you're marrying somebody, a foreigner, is that you have to be open-minded. So if you're not open-minded, then it will be so hard. Open-minded in a sense where you have to be aware of the culture of the country. You have to be aware of the tradition and all this stuff, how it is, how it works in the country, and so on. Because if you are already living in the country of your partner, and you don't think about being flexible, integrating, or trying to integrate in their culture, in their ways of living, then it will be really hard for you. So you have to be open-minded, that you can really accept, and you can really try to deal with it. As an example, or as a best example, is like, for example, me, I am from the Philippines. I came to Sweden and I have been living here for 16 years. And when I came here, it's a lot of things that I have to consider when it comes to their culture, because you can really have a culture shock. You can even have a shock, like, it's very different weather. And then it's something that you have to be aware, you have to be ready. So it's very important that if you are marrying a foreigner, that it's something that you really love each other, you really love the person, and that you are willing to take all the changes you will encounter, the change in temperature, the weather, the culture of the people, how the people deal with each other, how you will be dealing with it. And that is one very important thing. Number two, you don't marry a foreigner if you are not ready to relocate. Sometimes there are people, they go to the dating site. Okay, I choose somebody, and then they found someone who is very good in communicating with them, learning them, and they start writing each other without being aware, or without thinking sometimes, like, if these things will work, either of the two will relocate. So if you are, for example, I'm a Filipina, so I will give it usually as an example. If you're Asian, so if you're Asian, it's a very big difference. It's a very big change from Asian country, and you have to travel to another country, to the Europe or to the USA, and it's the culture differences is really big. And then you have to consider first before you will continue communicating with this person, because as time goes by, when you are communicating, you're learning each other, it can happen, you're even talking in the phone and all this stuff, it can happen that you will fall in love to this person, and this person will fall in love to you, or he will even considering like visiting you in your country, and you will meet each other, and things go very good. And suddenly you come to a point where, no, I am not ready to relocate. And that will give a very big problem on your relationship. Because most of the time, when an Asian woman, for example, or even a guy who meets somebody from a European country or from the USA, most of the time it's the one from the Asian country that will relocate. But there are a lot of times where it's an older man, for example, or people from the USA or European country who prefer to transfer or relocate to Asian country, but it's not so common. It's not so common. Then that person has to be ready to accept, to be flexible enough that the relocation will really affect a very big, it will really affect in the way when he will be living there, will really affect how will he feel about it. So the good thing I can advise is that if your relationship is already very good, then that guy maybe can live in the country. If he's planning to relocate in a country, he can live in your country for like a month or 3 months, and he can feel it, he can see it. And it's same with you. You can visit the other person's country and try to be in there and feel it and see it. And then in that moment, then you will feel like, yeah, I'm ready to be here. Yeah, I like this place. Or, the negative things, I can handle it. So relocation is really very important to consider when you are trying to marry a foreigner. And it is very good to know that something about the country's culture, traditions, the language of the country. Are you ready to know their language? Are you willing to change a lot? Are you willing are you willing to face all the challenges of relocating in another country with another culture, with another way of living, with another language they are speaking? Number 3 is that if you are not willing to learn others' culture, tradition, and beliefs, sometimes you don't really have to convert. Like if you're somebody who came from a country and you have this very strong tradition, you have this very strong belief or religion, and you are the kind of person where you can never leave. If you are in our religion, you're a very religious person. The good thing I want to advise is that you have to consider that not all people are practicing religion. There are people who maybe they believe in God, but then they are not practicing any religion. They don't go to church. They don't read the Bibles and all these things. And you yourself, you are someone who is very religious. You go to church every Sunday. You read the Bible every day, or you do all this religious thing in your life, in your daily life. One thing I want to advise is that respect other people, regardless if they are religious, regardless if they are people who doesn't have any beliefs. Because actually the most important thing you have to consider if you find a partner is somebody who is good in heart. I will tell you, I had been traveling with my husband and my kids in different countries here in Europe. We had been in USA and in other Asian countries. And then what I see, the difference is the more you travel, you will learn a lot. You will learn a lot that there's different kinds of religion. And there are even people who doesn't have any religion, who doesn't believe on anything, but they believe that they believe in goodness. And one thing I considered before is that you don't really have to have a person who will shout it out that I'm a religious person. I believe in this and that, and I read my Bible every day, because it's not even an assurance that that person is a really good person. It's a lot of religious people who are just using it and showing to people that they are good because they are religious and all this stuff, but they are not actually practicing what is written in the Bible. So the good thing to consider when you find a partner is not the religion. Never consider the religion. I know somebody who meets someone that is very religious, and she thinks that this person, that is 100%, I'm sure he's a very good person because he's so religious and he goes to church every Sunday. But then in the end, it came out that the guy is like a womanizer, and like he was not that person who is really serious in a relationship, because a person's personality, you can never see it by what kind of religion he has. A person's goodness cannot be measured by how many times he goes to the church or how many times he read his Bible. There are a lot of people that they don't even have religion, they don't even have beliefs, but they are good in heart, and that is enough. Because for me, if a person is a very good person who doesn't think of hurting people, who are considerate and loving and all this stuff, for me, even if that person is not having a religion or not practicing any religion at all, that is more than enough to show that God is in him. You don't have to be a religious person to show that you are a good person. So that is very good thing to consider if you find a partner, because it's not the very best thing to consider. Religion, no, please do not. It's a lot of religious people, and they're just using it just to fool people that they are good people because they are very religious. So in my own experience, what I have observed in different countries, it's enough that you see that the person is afraid of hurting other people, that the person is loving, that the person shows affection, shows empathy to other people. And that is more than enough to consider when you will find a partner. Because like here in Sweden, here in Europe, it's a lot of people who doesn't have beliefs, who doesn't go to church, who doesn't do these religious activities, but a lot of them are very good people, and they continue to have the relationship until they get old and die. But it's a lot of people who are very religious, who read the Bible every day, but then they don't learn anything. They don't learn anything, or the teachings of God. They don't follow it. So it's useless. So that is one thing you have to learn when you marry a foreigner, or you don't marry a foreigner if you are not like that. And number 4 is that if you do not marry a foreigner if you are a one-sided person. Because if you want to marry a foreigner, as what I said before, you have to be open-minded. So if you're a person who is only one-sided, then it will never work. It will never work. It doesn't even work if you marry somebody who has who came from the same country as you, who has the same nationality as you are. It doesn't even work. You have to be open-minded. You shouldn't be only one-sided person. So how much more if you marry someone who has another nationality? Then it will never work at all. It will just give complications in your relationship. The last one I want to tackle is that don't marry a foreigner if you can't make a compromise in a relationship. A relationship between two people with the same nationality, the same beliefs, the same religion, you have a lot of things in common. You still even need to compromise. Compromise in a way like there are some things that the other partner likes and you don't like. What will you do? Of course, you have to compromise. If that person likes to go to a movie and you're not this, movie goer kind, you just love to sit on your couch and watch the Netflix or watch the TV or whatever. But sometimes you have to compromise. You have to go to a movie with him because he likes it, and it should be two-way thing. If you are a person who likes maybe gardening, and you want to go to a garden fair, and then your partner doesn't like it because he has no interest in gardening, and what will I do being in a garden fair? But you have to compromise. It doesn't matter what nationality you have. You have to compromise things when you have a partner in life. You cannot just do whatever you want. You cannot just say no. And in my experience, I love gardening. So I usually go to garden fair. And my husband, he likes electronic things. So when it's like electronic fair, I go with him. It's not my interest. For me, it's so boring to go around and like looking for computers and all this electronic stuff. And for me, it's like I just get, pain in the head or whatever. But why I do it? It's because I have to compromise. I have to show him, yeah, I can also go with you. Don't think about what you see, what you learn when you go in that fair. What you think is that you are together, the two of you, and that is the most important thing. So when I go to a garden fair, he comes with me, and it's not his interest. It's not and I can see it. But of course, if I look at the flowers and and I say, oh, this is really nice. What do you think if we will have it also inside the house? And so as you see in my background, I have here a lot of plants, and I have the support of my husband. It's because he knows I like gardening, I like plants, and like if it's winter time, then I have my plants inside so they will survive. So compromise is not only like if you have two different nationalities, but it's also for people who have the same nationalities. So if you cannot compromise, even with a partner where you have the same nationalities, how much more you can compromise if you have a partner who has a different nationality and you will be living in his country. And then you have to compromise a lot of things. But it's the same way with him. If you are from an Asian country and he is from a European country, or he is from the USA and it's another culture there, and if he goes and visits to your country, it's a lot of things. He will be facing all these things like, meeting the whole clan. And he has to talk to everybody. He has to answer everybody's, questions. And then with the kind of food you eat, and sometimes it's good that you talk about it. So it's a lot of compromise you have to do when you will marry a foreigner. So if you don't have all these things in you, you cannot have all these considerations. You cannot make a compromise. You are not ready to relocate. You are not willing to learn other culture, other traditions, beliefs, and all this stuff. Then don't marry a foreigner. And today I will say again, thank you for watching my video. This is Evelyn Sigelstrand of Liva Buhay.